They danced until their feet bled. They danced until they collapsed. Some even danced until they died. No music, no joy, only terror. This wasn't a celebration, it was a nightmare. The year was 1518, in the city of Strasbourg, when hundreds of people were struck by an uncontrollable urge to dance. What began with one woman quickly spiraled into one of the strangest, deadliest, and most unexplainable mysteries in human history, the dancing plague. It began with a woman named Frau Trafia. One warm July morning, she stepped into the cobblestone streets and began to move her body in a strange, uncontrollable dance. At first, neighbors thought she was joking, perhaps mocking or performing. But soon they realized something was terribly wrong. Hours passed, the sun set, the night fell, and still she danced. Her movements were jerky, desperate, painful. She cried out that she wanted to stop, but her body ignored her. For 6 straight days, she danced without rest. Her feet blistered, her legs shook, blood stained the stones beneath her, yet she continued, as though pulled by an invisible force she could not resist. Within a week, over 30 others had joined her. Men, women, even children were suddenly overtaken by the same strange compulsion. They claimed they could not stop, their bodies twitching, spinning, moving against their will. The streets filled with exhausted dancers, moving day and night without pause. Some collapsed to the ground, only to rise again moments later as if pulled upright by unseen strings. The sound of shuffling feet and cries of pain echoed through the city. Strasbourg was terrified. The city's doctors were called, but they were powerless. Their diagnosis was bizarre. They believed the victims had overheated blood. And their proposed cure was even stranger. They told the authorities to encourage the dancing. Believing that the victims could sweat out the illness, officials built wooden stages and even hired musicians to play. They thought music would speed the cure. Instead, it fueled the madness. With drums pounding and violins screaming, the number of dancers grew. Soon hundreds filled the streets, jerking, twisting, writhing in endless motion. Eyewitnesses described horrifying scenes. Men foamed at the mouth, their legs pounding against the ground long after they wanted to rest. Women collapsed, their hearts failing mid-step. Others screamed in agony, begging for help, but their bodies betrayed them, forcing them to continue. Blood soaked the streets from torn feet. Some laughed hysterically, others wept. Dozens died, not from wounds or plague, but from exhaustion, strokes, and heart failure brought on by ceaseless, merciless movement. As the death toll rose, the church declared that the people were cursed. Many believed the dancers had angered Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dance and epilepsy. Priests marched the victims to a shrine dedicated to him, barefoot and trembling, still twitching with every step. There, they were sprinkled with holy water, given crosses, and prayed over. Slowly, some reports say, the victims grew weaker and the outbreak began to fade. By late summer, the plague was finally dying down, but the mystery remained. Centuries later, historians and scientists still struggle to explain what happened. Some argue that it was ergot poisoning caused by a toxic fungus growing on rye bread. Ergot contains chemicals similar to LSD, capable of causing hallucinations, convulsions, and spasms. It could explain why the dancers appeared possessed, their bodies out of control. But critics point out that ergot usually incapacitates its victims. It makes them weak, not capable of dancing for days. It doesn't explain the endurance, the sheer scale of the outbreak, or the deaths from exhaustion. Others argue it was mass hysteria, what scientists now call mass psychogenic illness. Strasbourg was a city on the edge famine. Disease and religious fear hung over the people like a cloud. Under such stress, fear can spread like fire. One person's strange behavior could trigger others to unconsciously mimic it, creating a chain reaction. Once one person danced, others followed, caught up in a psychological storm. But again, the question remains, Can hysteria really make hundreds of people dance until they die? Another theory is religious ecstasy. In the Middle Ages, people believed deeply in saints, demons, and curses. Some scholars suggest the victims were caught in a trance, a kind of possession fueled by religious terror. To the people of Strasbourg, it wasn't an illness at all, it was punishment from God or the saints. They weren't sick, they were cursed. Modern researchers have also speculated about neurological disorders, even epilepsy-like seizures spreading through groups. But no known illness behaves this way, appearing suddenly, affecting hundreds, and then disappearing without a trace. And here's the most chilling part: Strasbourg wasn't the only case. Across medieval Europe, records describe outbreaks of what they call dancing mania. In Germany, Switzerland, and France, groups of people were struck by the same uncontrollable movements, sometimes in the hundreds. They would dance in the streets, wailing, shouting, collapsing. In some places, priests led them to shrines for healing. In others, they simply danced themselves to death. Strasbourg was the largest and most infamous outbreak, but it was not alone. Even now, no one can fully explain the mystery. Was it poisoned bread, mass hysteria, religious fear? Or something darker, something we still cannot understand? What we do know is that the victims were real, their suffering recorded in detail by horrified witnesses. The dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. So imagine this: you're walking through your city's streets on a warm summer morning. Suddenly, your legs begin to twitch. You try to stop, but your body won't listen. You stumble into the square and realize dozens of strangers are doing the same, their eyes wide with fear, their feet pounding the stones, their arms jerking wildly. You try to scream, but no one can help you. Your body won't stop moving. Hours pass. Days pass. You collapse, but your body drags itself up again, as if an invisible hand pulls the strings. Around you, others fall to the ground, lifeless, while the dance continues. That was Strasbourg in 1518. Hundreds of people trapped in a dance of death, a nightmare without explanation. The question is, was it simply history's strangest illness, or was it something far more terrifying? Perhaps some mysteries are not meant to be solved.